Akwaba, Akwaba, as the saying goes in Ghana, welcome to Ghana. So I am now standing at the Black Star Square, where we have the edifice of the independence of Ghana. There are three main symbols here. We have the 28th February sign where our people fought, our soldiers fought. Behind me is the ark that shows our liberty, and also a statue showing the unknown soldier. And this is the Black Star, indicating the first country to gain independence in Africa. This signifies hope for Africa. We want you to tune in to all our series as we discover the rich culture of Ghana. So currently we are at the Independence Square in Accra, a wonderful, beautiful place that when you get to Accra, Ghana, you want to visit this place. It's a symbol of the independence of Ghana. This is where most big ceremonies are held. Very beautiful. Just look all around you. We are now standing in front of the 28th February monument. This was where the independence actually started. There were some soldiers that were marching and they were killed, and it started the agitation for the fight for freedom, for independence. So let's look around, and these were some of the outstanding soldiers. We had Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Atipo, and we had Odate Lamte, who died at the Christianborg Crossroads on February 28, 1948. So this agitated the move for independence. So let's look around. Dedicated in memory of these ones listed here in 1966. This Corporal Atipo. Dedicated in memory of the unknown Ghanaian who died in the cause of freedom and justice for Ghana. Odate Lamte. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what started the freedom and independence of Ghana and Africa as a whole. Hello, we are now standing in front of the Independent Arch of Ghana. That is the Freedom and Justice Arch. There we are in Ghana. Ghana has had its independence in 1957. Welcome to Ghana. See ya. Let's visit all the township of Ghana. Hooray! Hey, we're standing in front of the Kwame Nkrumah mausoleum.
The park was built on this particular grounds is that during our colonial period, this was where the British actually played polo. So this was called the Old Polo Grounds and meant for only British. Natives or locals were not allowed to come here. So when it was due for us to gain independence, symbolically, and also to kind of spite the British, Dr. Nkrumah chose the same grounds where he made his independence declaration. So that's the importance of the memorial built on this particular grounds. On the park is more or less divided into three main sections. We have a museum where we have his pictures and some of his personal items, and there's also a mausoleum where Dr. Nkrumah was eventually laid to rest, and we have his statue and other ones right on the ground. So that's basically it. And since this place was also built, we've also had some prominent African personalities visiting. Some, when they came, were made to plant trees to show their presence here. So we have a tree planted by the late Nelson Mandela of South Africa. That's one by the late Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe, Laurent Gbagbo from Cote d'Ivoire, Moi Kibaki from Kenya, and other countries I should mention. So right ahead of us we have Nkrumah's statue mounted, and where his statue is built was exactly the spot he delivered his independence speech on the eve of 6 March 1957. And Ghana was then the first country south of the Sahara to gain independence. So when he was making his speech, among those who were in the crowd was Martin Luther King Jr. Now he came when Nkrumah delivered his independence speech. The statue is pure bronze from Italy, and his posture means forward ever, backwards never, which happens to be the slogan of a political party he formed called CPP, or Convention People's Party, forward ever, backwards never. Then we have the humblers. These are expressing an aspect of Ghanaian traditional culture. In Ghana, especially in the south, when we have a festival or a big occasion and the chief or the king is coming, often some of his servants would go before him, blow to announce his arrival. Similarly, when an important person dies, traditionally we blow horns to announce the person's death. So symbolically, they are doing the same thing for him. But the only difference is that they blow the horns in real life while standing. They don't kneel. But here they are kneeling because they are giving him reverence or honor.
And this structure behind, what does it symbolize?
So that is the mausoleum where our first president was laid to rest.
Okay.
The shape looks like a trunk of a tree. That's one meaning.
Okay.
Now, he was the president of Ghana, but then in 1966, 24th of February, his government was overthrown in a military and police coup. So he had to go into exile in Conakry, Guinea, where he eventually also became the co-president of Guinea, because of the role he played in Guinea's independence. So from up to the base, it looks like a trunk of a tree growing but then cut up in the middle. One meaning is that he couldn't finish what he was doing for us before he was overthrown. So more or less, it represents his unfinished work. And often in our villages in Africa, when our farmers are from their farms and tired, they would rest under a shade of a tree. So he's buried down there, and we believe that he's also resting under the shade of a tree. So let's come in and pay respect to our first president.
We are going to the inside of the mausoleum where he was buried.
So this is the mausoleum that contains the final remains of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana. And since he died, this happens to be his third burial place. He was the president of Ghana until 1966, 24th of February, when his government was unfortunately overthrown in a military and police coup. So eventually he was exiled to Conakry, Guinea, where he also became the co-president of Guinea because of the role he played in Guinea's independence struggle much later. That was where he lived till he fell sick in 1971. They took him to Bucharest, Romania, for proper medical attention. That was where he died of prostate cancer in 72 at the age of 63. They embalmed him in Romania and took him back to Guinea, where he was given a state funeral and burial as co-president. But then 3 months later, they transferred him from Guinea to his family house. He was from the western part of Ghana, a town called Nkrofo. They returned him because at the time he died, unfortunately, his mother was then still alive. And he happened to be the mother's only child, so she requested they brought him home. That was where he was until when Ghanaians thought that he deserved a proper national memorial for all he was able to do for us and the continent at large. So this was built in 1991 by our then head of state, now Jerry John Rawlings. So when they finished here, he was then transferred from his family house to here. So his third and hopefully his final resting place. And this is built of Italian marbles, and the architect was Ghanaian. And back then, Dr. Nkrumah was one of the leaders on the continent who believed and promoted strongly African unity, what we call Pan-Africanism, and eventually one of the founding members of our current continental union, the African Union. So to give a more practical expression to his talk about Pan-Africanism, he married an African. His wife was Egyptian, called Fatia Nkrumah. She died just in 2007, back home in Egypt. And not long after she died, the news came from their children that during her last days, one of her wishes was to be buried next to her husband. That was discussed by the then government. Eventually it was agreed. They brought her back, gave her also a state funeral, and they brought her. So his wife was also laid to rest. Yes, right.
So this is the tomb of former President Kwame Nkrumah's wife, Fatia Nkrumah.
And they had 3 children from the marriage. 2 gentlemen now and a lady. But before he married her, he had a son from an earlier Ghanaian relationship. So they are 4, and all of them are still alive. 3 of them are currently in Ghana, whilst 1 in Egypt. And 2 of his kids are also active politicians in Ghana. That's the only daughter and youngest son.
Okay. Wow, they are active politicians.
Active politicians. Yeah.
Wow. I can see some symbols here. What does it signify?
That's actually the museum building.
Okay.
And in front of it we have some motifs, but unfortunately cameras are not allowed
in there. Okay. So at least now we can see the outside.
The outside.
Okay.
Now above the entrance of the museum is a symbol of kiwi head with an eagle with a wing spread.
Yes.
It's a symbol he had wanted to use to represent the African unity.
Okay.
Now we have an adage or a popular saying which goes like, 3 heads are better than 1.
Wow.
Now which stands for unity. And unity also knows lies strength because the eagle is a strong bird. So what he was saying was that Africans should unite so that one day the continent can also become a strong force in the world.
Going around the mausoleum, a walk around the mausoleum. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful edifice. This is the frontage of the Kwame Nkrumah mausoleum. We're going to the car that the late president used during his reign, that has also been parked here. So let's see which car the first president of Ghana drove in. This was the car that he used to ride in. This was the car the first president drove in. And man, the story here has been splendid. You need to be here at the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum, where the first president of Ghana was laid to rest, and the wife was also laid to rest. Thank you, and stay tuned for the rest of the message.